Hi, and welcome to the Sit Down with Suzanne podcast. I am your host, Suzanne. So, before we get into this week's topic, I thought I'd answer a few questions from my fans. So, I did share on my social media pages that I'll be answering a few fan mails. If you don't follow me on social media, please do so. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube as Positively Suzanne. You can also write to me at Suzanne at positivelysuzanne.com. So, the first email that I'm going to answer is, what made you decide to do a podcast? So, interestingly enough, I actually wasn't thinking of doing a podcast right away. I was working on a project with my husband that I was hoping to launch pretty soon. But just based on conflicting schedules, we just were having a hard time getting up and running. And I was visiting a friend of my husband, and we were talking, and he said, why don't you have a podcast? And I said, well, it is something that I've been thinking about for a while now, but I was thinking about it for later on, maybe the end of the year, maybe next year. And I listen to podcasts. I actually quite enjoy podcasts. And like I said, it was something for a later date. And we had a really good conversation in regards to just the way society is going and just the way people listen to information. And he thought that the podcast was a great way to go. And I said, you know what? You're correct. I've been thinking about it. I'm just going to do it. So I did put the project on hold for a bit and decided to launch the podcast. So that's how I started with the podcast. All right, next question. How did you come up with the name Sit Down with Suzanne? Well, my name is Suzanne, and the title Sit Down with Suzanne, I came up with it because I was thinking of, I wanted it to be somewhere where you can just sit down and have a conversation. I didn't want it to be something that I'm talking at you, I'm talking over you, under you, just any old way. I just wanted to sit down and have an intimate conversation, like two girlfriends or two old friends just talking about stuff. It's just an intimate setting. And that was my thought when I thought about the name for the podcast. I want it to evoke, just feeling of intimacy, just a feeling of sitting down and having a chat with somebody that you're familiar with. And that's how Sit Down with Suzanne came about. That's how I came up with the name. So I do have time for one final question. So the question is, oh, okay, that's an interesting one. So, yes, I do talk about my kids quite a bit. Will they be on the podcast? You never know. It's not a thought right now to have them on the podcast. I certainly have a lot of interesting conversation with them. One of the reasons why I might not put them on the podcast, when you decide to put kids on social media, it's a different avenue, right? And, people will sometimes take it to another level, and people are sometimes very cruel. So I do kind of want to shield them from that, but I also know that it is very hard to shield them from social media. My daughter is 12, almost 13. She's going to be 13 in about 2 weeks or so. So, just trying to wait a little bit before she gets the full onslaught of social media. I think they definitely will be on. They will be on, just not right now. There's no thought of putting them on right now. But if the right topic comes along, absolutely they will be on. So thank you. Those are all the questions I'm going to answer. Please continue to send me your questions at Suzanne at positivelysuzanne.com. And who knows, maybe one day your questions will be answered. And I also said that I was going to be highlighting a very special guest. So if you've listened to my shows, I did record an episode talking about what I learned about dying. And a fan reached out to me to let me know that they were touched by this episode. So I do want to give a special recognition and a shout out to Roger. So Roger, if you're listening, thank you for sending your feedback. I am humbled that the episode touched you. I am humbled that it moved you. I'm hoping that you are able to move forward. I know forgiveness is not easy. I know it is very, very hard. It is something that I'm consistently working on. Because life, people sometimes let you down and they disappoint you. and you want to write them off and just say, I'm just going to cut them out of my life and move forward. But if it's a family member or a close friend, it's very hard to do that. So, Roger, thank you. I'm encouraged, and I just want to encourage you to keep moving forward. Just release that burden of unforgiveness, and I promise you, and even if the person's not receptive, you will feel a whole lot better. So thank you for listening. So this week's episode is about success, and I'm going to title it Define Your Own Success. A lot of times I'll have conversation with somebody and they're talking about they don't feel successful. And I've always asked them, well, what was the goal? You don't feel successful. What was the goal? Now, there are many different levels of success, and if you don't define your own success, you'll consistently feel like you're not successful. Now, I have a podcast. Oprah's a podcast. Now, do I feel that I was successful with my podcast? Absolutely, because the things that I set in place, the things that I wanted to accomplish, I've accomplished that. Now I'm going to go forward and set different goals. But if I had launched a podcast and I said I want to have the same audience as Oprah Winfrey, the same amount of listeners as Oprah Winfrey, then immediately I would be setting myself up for failure. Because a lot of times when you're starting something, you have to set, these milestones, and you have to create and set your own success. Like, what does success look like for you? And I'm not saying it's not okay to aim high, but you also have to be realistic and know that it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to put some work into it. So I was thinking about success, and I was like, well, if I compare myself to certain people, then I'm not successful, and I feel that I'm successful in my own right? So I'm an Oprah fan, and I was thinking about it, and I was looking at it, and Oprah, according to the internet, is worth about $2.6 billion. And then Jeff Bezos, the head of Amazon, is worth $111 billion. Now, compared to him, Oprah's net worth is significantly lower, but she's still a billionaire. She's a self-made billionaire. So does not mean that Oprah Winfrey is not successful because she does not have the same amount of money as Jeff. And I think that's what we have to ask ourselves. Are you not successful because you don't have the same thing as somebody else? You have to define what you're looking for. Now, somebody might have a PhD and you have a high school diploma. Does that mean you are not successful? Absolutely not. If your goal was to get a high school diploma, if your goal was to get a GED, and you accomplish that goal, then you are absolutely successful. If somebody has a job and they're a CEO and you are the manager of a branch of a bank, are you not successful? Well, if your goal was to be the CEO and you didn't end up being the CEO, then you're not successful in that aspect. But if your goal was to be the manager of a bank and you are the manager of a bank, then you are successful. The dictionary describes success as the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. Okay. It didn't say a certain amount of money. It didn't say a certain job. It didn't say married, kids, certain car, certain home. We as human beings, we are the ones that put these things on success. And if you set a goal and you accomplish it, then you are successful. If your goal is to, exercise 5 minutes a day, you're successful. And you may have a friend who's exercising an hour a day. They're successful against their goal. You're successful against your goal. And I want to encourage you. You have to set and create your own success, and don't do it in comparison to somebody else. And a lot of my podcasts, I will talk about don't compare yourself to others, because your goal is your goal and their goals are their goals. I am very happy in what I do, and I'm currently going to school to pursue a degree in something that I desire. And, I have a friend who said recently to me, oh, I'm so proud of you. And I said, no, thank you. She's like, I wish I was like you. And I'm like, no, that wasn't your goal. You don't want that degree. So what's the point of wanting to be like me, wanting to go after the same degree when it's not something that you desire. And I think we have to get to the point where we can congratulate and feel happy for somebody without feeling that it's taken away from you. So create your own success. I have many friends that have degrees that they went after, they got, that have PhD. I don't feel any like successful because my goal wasn't to get a PhD. So that is going to be my encouragement. Create your own success. Whatever you want, you can accomplish it, but you have to decide that that is what you want. Um, Another thing, if somebody's going after something and they're struggling with it and you have the capacity to help them, you should help them, because I think it's so important that people have, support, that people have somebody in their corner that's rooting for them. Because a lot of times you can get derailed if, you're going after something and you feel like you have no support. And absolutely, you should be your own motivator, and, you should get up and go. But there are some days that you get up and you're not motivated. There are some days that you get up and you feel like, you know what, I'm just going to lay down. So if you feel that, you know that somebody else is feeling that. So be that friend, be that sister, be that brother, be that teacher, be whatever that role is you play in that person's life, and encourage them. Let them know that you see them, that you are proud of them, and encourage them to go even further. So, what are you going to do this week? You're going to define your own success. You're going to define your own success based on your goals, based on your aim, based on your purpose, not based on anybody else's. You're also going to encourage somebody that is in your life to go after their goal, and let them know that you see them. And if they're struggling, you're going to lift them up. You're going to push them forward, and you're going to keep encouraging them. And just remember, this world is big enough for all of us to be successful. Think about it, right? If there was only one doctor, every single person in the world would go to that doctor. And that's why there's so many doctors, because there's enough room for a lot of doctors. Same thing with lawyers, same thing with hedge fund managers, same thing with any role you can think of. There is not one role that there's only one person playing it. So whatever that professional career, there's room for more than one. Yes, you can aim to be at the top of your field, but the bottom line is there's room for more than one. There's so many different things you can be doing. So I just want to encourage you, define your own success, create your own success. And, a thing that I've loved in the most recent years is the gig economy. Now, the gig economy is non-traditional jobs, right? So a lot of times people are out there in traditional roles and they're not successful. They're not making it. They're not happy. And they have created these roles. They've created these jobs where they're successful. And it's on their terms and it's on their limits, right? So that is what I want to encourage you. If you're doing something that's not working for you, there's nothing wrong with creating a role, with creating a job for you. I promise you, the world is big enough to handle you, and they'll catch up. So I thank you for listening. I hope you go forth this week and create your own success. And whatever you do, be happy, be confident.